My wife said, "I'm leaving you for someone younger." I responded, "I wish you the best." Then I called the dean of the university where her new boyfriend was a student, and my family was a major donor. Suddenly, she was begging me to think things through. I, 48 male, have been married to my wife Alice, 45, for 20 years. Or well, I was. Last Tuesday, she sat me down in our living room, the one with the bay window she always said was her favorite spot, and delivered the news with the kind of sterile compassion you'd use to tell a stranger their car is being towed. "I'm leaving you, Roger," she said, her hands neatly folded in her lap. She was wearing the pearl earrings I bought her for our 15th anniversary. "I found someone else." I just nodded, letting the silence hang in the air. I'd known something was off for months. The late nights she claimed were for her book club, the sudden obsession with a new genre of music, the way she'd started dressing like she was trying to recapture her 20s. It was a cliché, and I felt foolish for having watched it unfold without saying a word. "Okay," I said. It was all I could manage. She seemed taken aback by my lack of a dramatic reaction. "That's it? Okay? What would you like me to say, Alice? Should I yell? Throw something? Beg?" I took a slow sip of my water. "We're adults. You've made a decision." Her perfectly composed face tightened. She thrives on drama, and I was refusing to give her any. "His name is Gerald. He's younger." "I gathered," I replied, my voice even. "How much younger?" She hesitated, a flicker of something, maybe shame, maybe just annoyance at being questioned in her eyes. "He's 21. 21. The age of our own son, Arthur." The irony was so thick I could have choked on it. "He's a student at Northwood University," she continued a little too quickly. "He's brilliant, a sculptor. He sees me, Roger. He really sees me." I almost laughed. I had seen her for 20 years. I'd seen her through 2 miscarriages, the death of her mother, and a failed business venture she'd poured her heart into. I had seen her, but I guess the view had gotten old. "I'm happy for you," I said. And the crazy thing is, a small part of me meant it. If she was truly unhappy, then she deserved to find happiness. The other, much larger part of me, however, was a cold, hard knot of something else entirely. Betrayal doesn't always come in a fiery explosion. Sometimes it's a quiet, creeping frost. She went on to detail her plans. She'd already put a deposit down on a new apartment, a trendy little loft downtown. She wanted to handle the divorce amicably. That was her word, amicably. Which I've learned is code for, I want to take as much as I possibly can without a fight. She talked about her needs, her desires, her newfound lease on life. It was a monologue of entitlement, a testament to her self-absorption. She never once asked how I felt. "I'll need you to be reasonable about the settlement," she said, her tone shifting from empowered woman finding herself to business negotiator. "Gerald is still in school, and I'll be supporting him for a while. He has so much potential, but you know how it is for artists." Oh, I knew. I knew all too well. The next day, she moved her things out while I was at work. I came home to a house that felt cavernous and empty. There were little gaps on the bookshelves, bare spots on the walls where her favorite paintings used to hang. She'd even taken the expensive espresso machine we'd bought together last Christmas. I guess Gerald likes a good latte. For a few days, I just existed in the silence. I went to work, came home, and stared at the ceiling. I let the pain wash over me, processed the anger, and then I started to think Alice had made her choice. Now she would have to live with the consequences. All of them. You see, Alice knew my family has a long and storied history with Northwood University. My grandfather was one of its founding members. The library is named after my late father. Our family has donated, conservatively, 8 figures to the university over the last 50 years. She'd attended countless galas and fundraisers with me. She knew the power and influence we had there. What she miscalculated was my willingness to use it. She has always seen me as passive, the steady one. She mistook my calmness for weakness. On Friday afternoon, I sat in my study, the one Alice always called stuffy, and dialed the private number for the dean, Ethan Albright. "Roger, to what do I owe the pleasure?" he answered, his voice booming. "Ethan, I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time," I said, keeping my tone light. "Not at all, my boy. What can I do for you?" "I was just reviewing some of my family's philanthropic endeavors," I began, and it brought Northwood to mind. I wanted to talk to you about our foundation's annual contribution. I could practically hear him sit up straighter. Of course, Roger. We are, as always, incredibly grateful for your family's generosity. As are we for the university's commitment to excellence, I said smoothly. Which brings me to a rather delicate matter. I paused. I've recently been made aware of a student at your institution who is the recipient of one of our foundation's most prestigious scholarships, the Founders Grant for the Arts. His name is Gerald. I'd have to look him up, Roger. We have thousands of students. Of course, a sculptor, I believe. It has come to my attention that this young man is involved in a personal situation that raises serious questions about his character and judgment, a situation that does not align with the values of integrity our foundation seeks to uphold in its scholars. I see, Dean Albright said, his voice now a low murmur. I would never ask the university to act without due process, I said carefully. But I would consider it a personal favor if the Committee for the Founders Grant would undertake a formal review of Mr. Gerald's suitability as a recipient, in light of this new information. I trust you'll be discreet. The unspoken implication was clear. Our foundation's future generosity depended on the university taking our values seriously. I understand completely, Roger, he said after a long pause. We take these matters very seriously. I will convene the committee for a priority review. They will look into the matter thoroughly. That's all I ask, Ethan, I said. I'm confident the committee will make the right decision. I hung up. There was no 2-hour miracle. It wasn't a movie. It was something better. The slow, grinding, and unstoppable wheels of bureaucracy set in motion by a quiet phone call. Now we wait. Update. It's been a week since I made that phone call. A week of tense silence, followed by a predictable storm. I appreciate all the comments and support. It's strange to find clarity from strangers on the internet, but here we are. The first few days were quiet. Alice was likely in her love bubble, oblivious. Then, on Wednesday, the email landed. Gerald received a formal notice from the university. The Founders Grant Committee had completed its review, and due to conduct inconsistent with the character requirements of the scholarship, his funding was being terminated at the end of the current semester. Furthermore, due to the loss of the scholarship, which covered his campus housing, he would need to secure alternative living arrangements for the following term. The fallout was immediate. It took Alice less than an hour to call me, and she was incandescent with rage. What did you do? She shrieked, her voice shrill. I have no idea what you're talking about, I said calmly. Don't play dumb with me, Roger. Gerald just got an email. They're revoking his scholarship. This has you written all over it. I knew you were vindictive, but the university has its standards, Alice. It seems Gerald didn't meet them. He's devastated. His entire future is ruined. How could you be so cruel? Cruel? I finally let a little of my own anger seep through. You're the one who threw away 20 years of marriage for a boy young enough to be our son. You're the one who waltzed out of here without a backward glance. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? There was sputtering. But this is different. This is his life. And you were mine, I said quietly. She was crying now. Big, gulping sobs. You need to fix this, Roger. Call them back. Tell them it was a mistake. There's no mistake, Alice. Please, I'm begging you. We can talk about this. We can think things through. Think things through. The irony was almost too much to bear. I think I've done enough thinking for the both of us, I said, and then I did something I should have done a long time ago. I hung up. My relief was short-lived. That evening, my son Arthur called. He sounded upset. Dad? What's going on with Mom? He asked. She called me, crying. Said you'd kicked her out and were trying to ruin some guy's life. She said, you've lost your mind. My blood ran cold. Bringing our son into this, that was a new low. Arthur, your mother and I are getting a divorce, I said, keeping my voice steady. She chose to leave. The rest is complicated. I gave him the simple version, but his silence told me he needed more. The next day, I drove 2 hours to his college town, and we had lunch. I laid it all out for him. The affair, the lies, the amicable divorce demands. And then I told him about the scholarship. Arthur, I said, looking him in the eye. My father built that library. Your great-grandfather helped found the university. The money that was paying for that young man's education, the one your mother left me for, was our family's money. It was a betrayal on every level. He just nodded, his jaw tight. I get it, Dad. It's not about revenge, it's about respect. He got it. He really got it. I came home and immediately called a locksmith. While he was working, I had a security system installed. The installer handed me a small, discreet camera. Points right at the front door, he said. Just in case. A good call. On Saturday, I came home from a client meeting to find a few things amiss. A framed photo of my parents on the mantelpiece was turned face down. A bottle of expensive single malt I'd been saving was half empty. She'd used her old key before the locks were changed. It was childish, petty, and designed to unnerve me. It was also evidence. I took photos and sent them to my lawyer, Jean. She's a shark who smells blood in the water. Oh, this is good, she'd said when I first told her the story. This is very good. Her response to the photos was simple. Document everything. We'll use it all. Alice thought she could manipulate and bully her way into getting what she wanted. She's about to find out just how wrong she was. Update 2. It's been a month of legal maneuvering and petty escalations. The entitlement from Alice and Gerald has reached a level that honestly deserves some kind of award. The restraining order was granted after I submitted the security camera footage from my front door. It caught Alice trying her old key, and when it didn't work, she had a full-blown tantrum, kicking the door and screaming. Gerald was with her, looking like a deer in headlights. The judge didn't even blink. Alice's reaction was to play the victim on a grander scale. She took to Facebook, a long, tear-soaked post about her abusive, controlling husband who was using his vast wealth and influence to destroy a promising young artist. It got some traction. A few of her friends, people I've known for years, sent me angry messages. It stung, I won't lie. For a day or two I questioned if I'd gone too far. But then Arthur made his move. He posted a comment on her screed. Maybe you should also tell them that you cheated on my dad for months and that the promising young artist you're with had his education paid for by my dad's family's foundation, just for context. The comment section exploded. Alice deleted it and blocked Arthur, but the damage was done. Her narrative was shattered. Then they tried to come after my business. I own a small but successful architectural firm. One morning, I woke up to a flood of one-star Google reviews, all posted within a few hours, all using similar language. Vindictive owner, unethical, tears down families. It was transparently obvious. I spent a frustrating 3 days on the phone with Google support providing evidence of the coordinated attack. They finally took them down, but it was a headache and a stark reminder of how low she was willing to stoop. The peak of her audacity, however, was a letter she wrote to my family foundation's board of directors, a board that includes my aunt and 2 of my father's oldest friends. She accused me of misusing foundation funds for a personal vendetta. My aunt called me, laughing so hard she could barely speak. Roger, does she really think we're that stupid? The board, of course, dismissed her claims, but it was the sheer nerve that was stunning. The divorce proceedings are now in full swing. Our first mediation was a masterclass in delusion. Alice and her lawyer sat across from Jean and me. Alice's lawyer started in on the emotional damage she had suffered. Jean just smiled. Damage? You mean the damage she suffered while cheating on her husband? Or the damage she suffered when her lover's scholarship, funded by my client's family, was revoked due to a character review? The lawyer stammered. Jean then systematically dismantled every one of Alice's claims. She had bank statements, phone records, the video of the door kicking, the screenshots of the social media posts, and a log of the fake Google reviews. Alice's face went from indignant to pale. Furthermore, Jean continued, her voice like ice, my client is prepared to countersue for the emotional distress and reputational damage caused by your client's false and malicious accusations. The mediation ended shortly after. They are starting to realize they have no leverage. Alice's entitlement was built on a foundation of my perceived passivity. She thought I would roll over. She miscalculated, badly. This isn't a clean fight anymore, and I'm not the one who's gonna lose. Final update. It's been 6 months since this whole mess started. I thought I'd post one last update to close the loop. It's been a wild, draining, and ultimately clarifying ride. The final turning point came during the deposition. Jean was relentless. She questioned Alice for hours, her voice calm and methodical as she laid out the entire timeline. The credit card statements showing hotel rooms, the phone records, the lies. The final blow came when Jean brought up Gerald's academic record. "Mrs. Sterling, you've stated that Mr. Gerald Foster is a genius, a promising young artist, correct?" "He is. He just needs support." "The kind of support that was provided by the Founders Grant?" Alice's lawyer, objection. Overruled. Answer, the gritted teeth. "Yes." Jean then slid a document across the table. "This is a sworn affidavit from the head of the Fine Arts Department at Northwood University, obtained during our discovery. It states that Mr. Foster was on academic probation for poor grades prior to the revocation of his scholarship. He had failed to complete his midterm sculpture project. It seems his affair was taking a toll on his studies long before I made my phone call. Were you aware of this, Alice?" The silence was absolute. She stared at the paper as if it were a snake. She had no idea. She had hitched her wagon to a failing student, not a rising star. The narrative she had built her new life on was a complete fiction. Her case crumbled. The prenuptial agreement we'd signed was ironclad. The final divorce decree came through last week. Alice walked away with what she was entitled to under the prenup. Her car, her personal belongings, and a small lump sum that won't last a year with her spending habits. She did not get the house. She did not get spousal support. The last I heard, from a mutual acquaintance, the trendy loft is gone. She and Gerald are renting a room in a shared house. The glamour has, I imagine, faded considerably. Gerald officially dropped out of Northwood. He's working at a coffee shop. As for me, the house is peaceful. It's mine now, filled with things I like. I've reconnected with friends. Arthur and I are closer than ever. I went on a date last week. It was just coffee. It was normal, and it felt good. I don't hate Alice. What I feel is a profound disappointment. She had a good life, and she threw it all away for a fantasy, convinced I was too weak to let her face the consequences. The other day I was driving and I saw her. She was waiting for a bus, holding a grocery bag. She looked tired. The confident woman who left me was gone. In her place was a stranger, her face etched with weary resignation. Our eyes met, a flicker of shock. Then she looked away, her shoulders slumping. I didn't stop. I just kept driving. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet, inevitable result of your own choices. Sometimes it's just watching someone you used to know wait for a bus in the rain and feeling nothing at all.